ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa is shocked and dismayed by a letter from ANC Secretary-General Ace Magashule. Magashule made an unauthorized attempt to suspend Ramaphosa as party president.
You've been in the office since June. You have strong feelings about having other people in the office.
Yeah.
What's your expectation at JP Morgan as we reopen?
I'm shocked. First of all, the press is at home. So one of the obsessions is the press is at home talking on Zoom. It's like, but the American public knows 100 million people go to work every day. 65,000 people go to our branches every day. Firemen, police, sanitation, hospitals, retail, pharmacies, banks, groceries. It's 40 million who go to work. And yeah, kind of they like it at home and stuff like that. It doesn't work really well. So my view is there will be more hybrid work. So accelerate that. Remember, a lot of reporters can work at home when they're writing something. Then you go to the.
Oops. Okay. Don't stop there. Okay. I won't sing anymore. Ow! Oh, that wasn't going to sing.
Sorry.
Look at that.
Tim, this is on
Chase everyone away.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So he does know.
Okay, how are we looking? 7:26. Okay. Hello, YouTube community. Very nice to see you. I hope you can see me too. Okay, let's just get that up here so that I can then get. If you can hear me on YouTube, if you've got any questions, please stick them into the. Damn it! This thing was sore. Yeah, it was like a. Yeah, it's like a clip on here. No, it was on. Yeah, sure. Okay. So let's just go back to it. So if you can hear me on YouTube, and let's see if there's anybody there. There are 8 people at the moment. So I can sing, and it's only a very small it's a very small crowd. It's like being at home. Anyway, if you can see, there's a thing there called a live chat on the right-hand side, certainly of the box that I'm on. And if you go onto the live chat on that box, you can type something in. So I'll actually just write something there now. Hi, or you can pose questions here by typing.
How's the Theuns? How you doing?
Oh, great. Thanks. And you?
Hello, Theuns. Alec, how are you, man?
Hi, Alec. No, great. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
No, this whole Cuban story is quite extraordinary in many respects. So I'm looking forward to hearing your views on it. I don't know did you see Justice Malala wrote a quite excellent piece in Financial Mail this week on the same topic, also on Cuba. And he says, look, ANC, they are your pals. Just be honest. Just come clean.
Yeah, it's again conflating party and government as the ANC does more and more openly.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
But I probably read it. I read so many things on the issues this week.
Been a busy week. It's been
Yeah.
a very, very busy week. Theuns, what we do now is we start off with we have a flash briefing. So we have a short introduction, then we'll have a flash briefing, which is the headlines for the day, which is about 2.5 minutes. And then Justin brings us up to date on all the market movements. And then we're going to talk to you. So, and it's a very relaxed, calm kind of show. Our guest co-host tonight is Jean-Pierre Verster, who's actually just joining us right now. And Jean-Pierre is... hi, Jean-Pierre. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yes.
Great. And so Jean-Pierre is one of our top asset managers. Ooh, we've got some feedback somewhere.
Not me.
I think
all of us are.
we were fine until you came on.
Let me check that the mic
Yeah, just check that your headphones, your microphone is on your headphones and that the other mic is off.
Yeah, the speaker is not. Oh, I've got it. Sorry.
Okay.
That would help if I plugged it in.
Well, there we go. Perfect. We're on.
Sorry about that.
No, just as well we heard it. Okay, we're on. Stand by.
Stand by. Business Power Hour starts in 25 seconds. 15 seconds. 10 seconds.
The BizNews Power Hour.
Welcome to the BizNews Power Hour, where we give you the rational perspective on business news that matters. Indeed, we do. And tonight we have got one of those, very special programs for you. Jean-Pierre Verster is our guest co-host tonight. Jean-Pierre, lovely to have you on the program again, this time in a more permanent capacity. You'll be talking to us throughout the show tonight.
Thanks, Alex. Yes, looking forward to it. Thank you for having me tonight.
And one of the heavyweights, and I don't mean this because of his physicality, is with us tonight around about 6 o'clock, a South African businessman whose gamble has turned out to be spectacularly successful. Neal Froneman, who is the chief executive of Sibanye Stillwater. I'm sure, Justin, you got a few questions for Neal tonight.
Definitely, Alec. But a gamble, risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. So if you know what you're doing, it can't necessarily be considered a gamble.
When they bought Stillwater in the United States, let me tell you, there were many people around this little town of ours, this mining camp of ours called Johannesburg, who thought Neal had overreached. My goodness, has he proved them wrong. You're right. It was a calculated risk, which has turned out the numbers are spectacular. We'll talk to Neal round about the top of the hour. We're also going to be talking to Kevin Wakeford tonight. Kevin has been pilloried in the media. He was a whistleblower going back a long time ago, a very forthright, God-fearing person who today had his day in the sun at the Zondo Commission after Angelo Agrizi had made some very serious allegations against Wakeford. Wakeford responded with an affidavit. Agrizi came back. Then Wakeford responded with another affidavit. And today he laid everything on the table at the Zondo Commission, and it makes some compelling listening. We'll be talking to Kevin around about 6:15 this evening. Before that, in the first half of the show, we'll be having a look at the Cuban situation. Brilliant piece in the Financial Mail this week by Justice Malala, who says to the ANC, just come clean. We know you love Cuba, but rather just send them the money than pay them for engineers we don't need, or COVID-19 drugs that don't work, or mechanics that, and so on and so forth. Doctors who can't communicate. Rather, if you be honest with it, that's what Justice says. We'll be talking to Theuns du Buisson, who is with the Solidarity Research Institute, who's been going into some detail on finding out about South Africa's relationship with Cuba and why these engineers have come to the country in the first place. Theuns, nice to have you on the show.
Yeah, nice to be here. Thanks, Alec.
Oh, we're looking forward to those insights too. And then John Ovadia, tell us the story there, Justin.
The FSCA have come out and said that Ovex aren't regulated to give financial advice. They've sort of been advertising the fact that they can arbitrage the cryptocurrencies markets very profitably for you. And the FSCA have basically come out and said that they've got no leg to stand on. So it'll be interesting to see what John has to say.
He was on this show. He was in the studio a little while ago before we stopped bringing people into the studio because we feel it's a little small and a little cozy. But in our new studio, of course, that'll change. And I remember saying to him that night, John, have you lost your mind? What you're saying now is actually a red rag to the regulatory bulls. You can't just drive a bulldozer through the regulations. And of course, they have reacted.
Exactly. Often when it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So I'm sure John will be able to unpack further for us, Alec.
So great show coming up, and look forward to being in your company right through until 6:30, wherever you might be in the world, not just through Fine Music Radio in Cape Town and through our live streaming, but now we're also on YouTube, so you can see us. And we do have a very wide stretch at biznews.com, given our global South Africans who might be all over the place. But first, we'll find out from one of those, our editor-at-large, Scots-based Jackie Cameron, who still speaks like a South African, who brings us up to date with today's headlines.
ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa is shocked and dismayed by a letter from ANC Secretary-General Ace Magashule. Magashule made an unauthorized attempt to suspend Ramaphosa as party president. Ramaphosa says Magashule's points are null and void, according to reports. Magashule has been suspended by the ANC, but has been insisting he remains Secretary-General as he has lodged an appeal with the party. He says the party's 2017 resolution calls for all those facing allegations of corruption to step aside, and not just those facing corruption and serious charges. Eskom, South Africa's state power utility, does not want to buy electricity from the company that won most of a government emergency power tender. This is because it's concerned about the cost and length of the contract. Bloomberg reports that meeting the terms of Car Powership's 20-year deal will add pressure to Eskom's already stretched finances and heighten its exposure to fossil fuels. The company has a debt burden of 464 billion rand and is struggling to meet payments even with the help of state bailouts. There have been allegations of corruption in connection with the Car Powership deal. Zimbabwe plans to list a bond on the local exchange for the first time in 20 years. This is to raise funds for the expansion and upgrade of a main highway that links the country to its largest trading partner, South Africa. The $250 million listing by the Infrastructure Development Bank of Zimbabwe will be the first note issuance on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange since 2001. Total trade between South Africa and Zimbabwe stood at $2.4 billion last year. The 580-kilometer road that links the capital, Harare, to Beitbridge, one of Africa's busiest border crossings, is currently too narrow to deal with the vast amount of traffic. On average, about 25,000 people and 500 trucks pass through Beitbridge daily. The border point has been closed to non-commercial traffic since January to stop the spread of the coronavirus. The world's most vaccinated nation has activated curbs against COVID-19 as cases rise. The Seychelles, which has fully vaccinated more of its population against the coronavirus than any other country, has closed schools and cancelled sporting activities for 2 weeks as infections surge. Most of the doses administered in the Seychelles are from Sinopharm in China, and the rest are from Covishield, a version of AstraZeneca's shot made under license in India. South African miner Sibanye Stillwater has posted a 78% increase in first quarter core profit. This has been driven by higher metals prices and improved operational performance. High prices for metals extracted by Sibanye, including gold, platinum, palladium, and rhodium, have boosted profits against a backdrop of supply disruptions and strong demand. And that brings to a close your BizNews Flash Briefing. I'm Jackie Cameron for BizNews. For more on those stories and the other big stories of the day, do go to biznewsradio.com.
Jean-Pierre, there's so much that we can unpack there, but just as a very brief note, isn't it interesting? The last election, the DA was in disarray, the official opposition. Now it looks like the ANC is actually shooting itself in the foot just ahead of the October 27 local elections this year. It's going to make it an interesting contest.
It is, although one would hope with the renewal from an ANC perspective that they can actually claw back some of their losses. And who knows, maybe next it might be the EFF going through some issues. So as with most things in politics, it seems like there's never a stage where the politics are stable and where there's not some kind of allegation or major issue that really is to the detriment of whichever party. So one would think that in South Africa, our politics will get cleaner and cleaner, but unfortunately, it does seem like there are no clean shirts in politics, as we see with the Zondo Commission now again.
Yeah, it is. It's quite extraordinary, though, to get a guy who's been so well documented with his corruption responding by saying, well, the president of the country must now step down. Not the crooked former president that everybody knows is a crook. He hasn't been suspended, but the sitting president is. It just goes on and on. Justin, I'm really excited. Before we go on to the markets for today, the news out of Zimbabwe. We've been seeing some green shoots there. Certainly talking to Eddie Cross a couple of weeks ago, he said things are going better there in Zimbabwe than when we think. And this $250 million loan, the first in 20 years on the Harare Stock Exchange, so that the road between Harare and Beitbridge can be fixed, it's got to tell you something's going on there.
Very interesting, Alec. This was news to me, the first I heard, but I'd love to ask Jean-Pierre. Jean-Pierre, who's going to actually take up that bond, given that the biggest risk to the bond market is inflation, and we know where that goes in Zimbabwe?
Yes. So, if you think about what is the asset that inflation is the worst for, it probably is a bond, and it's specifically a long-term bond. So a purchaser of such a bond would probably not do it for a return. It might be developmental agencies or other sources of capital that might say, instead of wanting to generate a return, they are effectively helping out the country. And the bond gives you some additional rights and checks and balances, like covenants, so that if it isn't paid back, you can have some security, some protection. It's better than equities. But I would be very surprised if any investor with a financial type of target or return that needs to be generated on this would buy the bond, because I think there's very high risk from a financial perspective.
Oh, indeed there is. Okay, so BrightRock believes that with every change in life comes opportunity, and the markets aren't any different. The daily movements in the markets mean change for us all, sometimes small, sometimes big. This daily market report is made just for you by BrightRock, the first ever needs-matched life assurance that changes as your life changes. Justin?
The JSE All Share Index was up at 67,600. Some of the highlights included Sibanye up 1.5% to 67 Rand as the company announced an upbeat Q1 trading statement. AB InBev up 4.5% to 1,050 Rand a share as the company announced a better than expected Q1 performance and a change in chief executive. Distel up 4.5% to 132 Rand as people start loading up for the weekend ahead. And Sappi down 4.5% to 48 Rand a share. In the currency markets, the Rand strengthened against all the major currencies to 14 Rand 23 cents to the dollar, 19 Rand 76 cents to the pound, and 17 Rand 16 cents to the euro. Gold is up at $1,814 an ounce. Brent crude is trading at $69 a barrel, and the premier cryptocurrency will put you back 810,000 Rand a Bitcoin.
It's interesting, although Bitcoin has come back, listening to you every night, Brent crude just seems to be edging higher and higher, doesn't it?
Touched 70 yesterday, a little bit of a pullback towards 69, but yeah, at these levels, companies like Sasol are making a killing. So I guess good for the investors that spotted that value.
Yeah, all those investors that Charles Savage was telling us about who rode through the Sasol bump and are still with it. Well, this market report was made just for you by BrightRock, the first ever needs-made. Let's try that one again. This market report was made just for you by BrightRock, the first ever needs-matched life insurance that changes as your life changes. You're listening to the BizNews Power Hour, brought to you by the team at biznews.com. Well, as promised, Theuns du Buisson joins us now. He is the economics researcher at the Solidarity Research Institute, who put out a note today on the Cuban story, and in particular, the 24 Cuban water engineers that have been brought into South Africa when we have, well, quite a few water engineers who are unemployed. So the whole thing just kind of as it bemuses the rational minds. Theuns, what's going on here?
Yeah, well, Alec, it's not such a simple question. Basically, what's going on is the ANC feels that they've enjoyed the support of Cuba to get where they are as the ruling party in what they call a free South Africa. And it's now payback time. So every chance, every opportunity they have, money is funneled and channeled towards Cuba. And unfortunately, it's not the ANC paying the price for it, it's every single one of us, because it's taxpayers' money being used. So what the ANC is doing is, well, I don't think they have much interest in getting our water infrastructure up to standard. It's more about proving their commitment to the communist cause.
It's an interesting point here, because when the Cuban doctors came to South Africa, there was a very strong narrative that was presented to say Cuba has a good medical system. Leaving that aside for a moment, how good is Cuba's water system that we're bringing in their engineers to help fix ours?
Yeah, you'd expect it to be good if our Minister of Education says we can learn something from them, but that's very, very far from the truth. They've got, like, we have load shedding in Cuba. They take turns at having water, and it's atrocious. Most neighborhoods only have running water for 2 hours every 5 days. Drinking water is supplied on carts, sometimes even drawn by horses. Yeah, during the times that people do have running water, they catch it in tanks, and Cuba being a tropical island, they then have to make plans to not get the water, do not allow the water to get infected with mosquitoes and other carriers of tropical diseases. So then health authorities go again and go around and treat people's water that they've now stored in buckets, or if they're wealthy enough, in tanks on top of their houses, to treat that. But sometimes even the chemicals run out, so authorities go around and release little fish into people's water tanks. So it's a ridiculous system that doesn't work. If anyone believes that we can learn much from Cuba, we simply can't. In terms of water infrastructure, Cuba is also not a very good example there, because their last major water infrastructure project was finished in 1985, when the Soviet Union was still around to fund it.
These are extraordinary facts that you've given us. Where do you get them from, and how accurate are they? Because if what you've said is accurate, then we should be sending water engineers to Cuba to help them out of their problems, not the other way around.
Yeah, well, as I've said, it's got very little to do with fixing our water problem and more about patting each other on the back. You were there in the border war, now we're here when you need money. It's kind of a system like that, back scratching. Yeah, I mean, South African engineers are basically erecting dams and infrastructure across all of Africa. If you go to pretty much any African country, you're bound to bump into a South African engineer somewhere.
And yet we bringing in guys from Cuba. What's the real story here? Are these engineers just a way for Cuba's government to earn money from the South African government? In other words, you said payback time. We know Cuba's got serious financial difficulties as a nation. Is this one of the ways, as we saw with the drugs that they sent for COVID-19, which didn't work, but we paid 200 million rands for, and the mechanics that were sent to the South African National Defence Force when, well, there are more than enough unemployed mechanics in South Africa who could have done those jobs. Is that the real story here?
Yeah, on the night of the mechanics, what gets even more ridiculous is that most of those vehicles were sold for scrap a couple of months later. So it's wasteful expenditure beyond belief. It's literally all about channeling money towards Cuba. In terms of the engineers, there's about where the money goes and is that Cuba's latest scheme. There's absolutely no transparency about that. So there is not much of a way to tell. But what we do know is with their doctors, they do basically view their doctors as an export product, as a commodity. So you get doctors from Cuba, you pay them, but the Cuban government then basically takes up to 90% sometimes of the Cuban doctors' salaries. The numbers differ according to which sources you read, but almost none of the money paid for the Cuban doctors actually lands in that doctor's pocket. So we can only guess that it's a similar idea with the engineers now.
Wow. Our thanks to Theuns du Buisson, who is the economics researcher on Solidarity's Research Institute. Jean-Pierre, it looks almost blatantly crass, doesn't it? A way to channel money to a friend of South Africa's when indeed South Africa needs all the money that we can possibly get.
Indeed, very worrying to hear what Theuns has reported on. And I remember, I think it's roughly a decade ago now that travel restrictions were lifted between the US and Cuba. And at the start, it was this in thing for US travelers to go to Cuba and see how it is in a bygone era with all the cars still stuck in the 1960s and people living as if they still lived, the type of lifestyle of 50 years ago. And where we are now, it's not that funny anymore. It's not that quaint anymore. These days, US travelers might go on a cruise and maybe in the day go and see what the life looks like in Cuba, but at night they go back to the cruise ship to get a nice hot shower and a nice meal. So yes, it's very worrying. And if we do need help, one would think that we have other places to go to that have got engineers that can suit our circumstances and have the skills rather than Cuba.
The big question there is, if we do need help, when you've got many well-trained South Africans who are not being employed. Just to close off with you, Theuns, is this because they are white, that they're not getting the jobs?
Well, that was implied by the Minister Lindiwe Sisulu, clearly said that she got 2 and then 5 responses on an ad that was reportedly broadcast on 702. I am yet to encounter someone who's found that ad, but yeah, she clearly said that she found 2 and then 5 responses. They were white, and yeah, then she ends it there. But obviously the implication is that because the interested engineers were white, they could not be appointed.
We've got to get past this garbage. We really have to. We're a nation, supposedly. Really. I mean, it's 25 years on, longer than a quarter of a century. Okay. Theuns, thanks for updating us there. And as I said, there's an excellent piece in this week's Financial Mail by Justice Malala where he makes the same point, although his point is to say to the ANC, look, we know you love the Cubans. Just be honest and send them the money rather than putting us through this, rather than treating us South Africans as though we are thick. You're listening to the BizNews Power Hour, brought to you by the team at biznews.com. Well, Justin's much more informed when it comes to crypto. Do you want to introduce our next guest?
John, good to have you back on the show. John, this morning I woke up to...
Whoa, introduce him. We don't know who he is.
This is John Ovadia, CEO of Ovex, their crypto trading platform, Luno's competitors. John, good to have you back on the show. Woke up to some concerning news that the FSCA have said that you guys aren't allowed to give financial advice with regards to your Bitcoin or crypto arbitrage strategy. Tell us a bit more, because this seems pretty serious, John.
Yeah, sure. They actually made much more serious accusations. They said that Ovex is operating unlawfully and that we're in contravention, or that they suspect that we're in contravention of the Phase Act, and they said quite a lot of nasty things that were picked up by quite a lot of the press, quite a lot of press that we're actually quite close with. So we obviously woke up with quite a shock. Yesterday, the FSCA contacted me about one of our products, so the arbitrage service. They stated that they just had a bunch of questions. I said it sounded nothing too serious. They said we have till the 12th of May to reply. So I wasn't too concerned at all. Our compliance officer was preparing the response and whatnot. This morning I wake up to have all of our advertising halted. Articles going out about how we're operating in contravention with the Phase Act and all of this. Yeah, so I immediately contacted the FSCA to understand what was going on. They said that someone in their office, an intern, some very young hire, was just basically acting on their own accord and completely out of line. We are not operating in a regulated space at all, although we have nothing wrong with it. We wish that it was a regulated space. That way, nasty surprises like this wouldn't just crop up out of nowhere. I mean, we would, yeah. So we have nothing wrong with that. Unfortunately, it's not possible at the moment to be regulated. We are in the process of acquiring FSP license to do forex, because due to the nature of our business, clients sending money overseas to buy cryptocurrencies, a lot of those transactions taking place. And we do about our clients do about $3-4 million a day of that type of transaction, but we always do it through a regulated financial service provider.
John, I've got no doubt your PR team must have been working on overdrive this morning. But tell us a little bit more about this. Tell us a little bit more about this arbitrage strategy. In all honesty, it does sound a little bit too good to be true, John.
Yeah, no, it definitely does sound too good to be true. But there is one caveat that makes it not sound too good to be true, and that's the fact that it's limited. So you're limited to do your foreign investment allowance, which is 10 million rand, and your regular allowance, which is 1 million rand. That's cumulative trading per year. So I mean, you can make 2 to 3-4% per trade and per day, completely risk free. It is an awesome. Well, you have a risk. The risk is the counterparties, the fact that you use an exchange, the exchange might get hacked, all those issues. But otherwise, it is completely risk free. But then you can't do unlimited arbitrage. You can only do as much as your foreign investment allowance allows, and that means you can make a profit of about 20,000 to as high as 250,000 rand per year through these strategies. And it's as simple as sending money overseas, buying cryptocurrency, bring it back to South Africa and selling it at 2.5 to as high as 5% more than you paid overseas.
Okay, so you've told us that you're doing everything legitimately and that there's some intern sitting at the regulator who's decided they broke all the rules from the regulator and issued a statement that you guys are.
Sounds crazy. It sounds as crazy as 2.5% a day return. Sounds even worse.
Jean-Pierre, come help me here.
2.5%
a day return.
Well, let me just.
You know all about arbitrage, Jean-Pierre.
But just a quick thing about the FSCO.
Just respond there, please.
So it was literally completely out of line. They were meant to wait for, and they said it was a young new hire. They've issued a retractment quite quickly afterwards. I'm not sure if you guys saw that.
No.
Saying that they were wrong to say that, and they put a caveat saying pending investigation. I told them this is unacceptable. We have clients that are basically want to leave because of this. This is completely incompetent on your part. Then they immediately escalated it. I just got off a call with Gerard from the FSCA. I believe he's very senior there. He's closing the investigation, and tomorrow they'll announce that Ovex is completely compliant in what we do. Yeah.
John, just a question on the arbitrage. Is the spread always in the same direction? So is the cryptocurrency always more expensive in a specific market?
Yeah, it is almost always, but not 100% of the time. So there are times when the spread is actually negative, and those are great opportunities to make money. If a South African sees the spread go negative, meaning you can buy cryptocurrency here for cheaper than overseas, what they should do is immediately take every cent they have, buy cryptocurrency, wait for the spread to go up, wait for the spread to go back to a positive, because that's where it is 99% of the time, and sell it at a profit. Which is actually a really profitable trading strategy, which we deploy over here at times as well.
You know, it reminds me a lot of a company called Matheson and Hollidge, which was a stockbroker, which in the 1980s, okay, I know ancient history, but it's got the same parallels. We started doing secondary market bond trading in South Africa. Up to that point, would you believe, we didn't have a secondary market in bonds. And they used to mint money because they understood what was going on when everybody else was ignorant. Is it similar here, John, that you've got an inside track because actually you've made a study of this market and you can just see the obvious, and other people are yet to discover it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the case in the whole of the cryptocurrency ecosystem, where there really are these opportunities everywhere, where it's quite crazy, where you see opportunities to make significant returns for essentially nothing, just because you're in the right place at the right time by being in the cryptocurrency space at the moment.
Jean-Pierre?
I think it's also important to emphasize the risk that John did allude to, and that is the counterparty risk. If you look in the crypto space at the moment, there isn't a custodian, as we have in the share market, where even if you lose your share certificate, it has been dematerialized and it is somewhere stored in electronic form and no one can effectively steal it. In the crypto space, we don't have that. And therefore, as John correctly said, one still has this risk of even exchanges being hacked and people can lose all their cryptocurrency. So I think it's just important to emphasize that this is not risk-free. There's still counterparty risk. And in the arbitrage, that spreads can go both ways. It can be positive, they can be negative. And therefore, people should just know what they are getting into, which is at the moment an unregulated market. And John, can you give us some indication of what you need to do to get to a regulated space? Because the FSCA, as you correctly also mentioned, has said they are going to regulate the crypto space. What changes do you need to make in your business for that?
So we are actually ready for when they roll out that regulation. So essentially to get regulated, we just need them to announce that there's a category for crypto asset providers, and we'll apply for it tomorrow, and we would be compliant. What they're going to require, first of all, will be strict compliance with FICA. So to make sure that all clients submit their FICA documents and that no money laundering or anything, or like fraud or anything like that can take place easily. It's something we do anyway. It's something that's required quite strongly for a company of our size and the big providers like Luno and ourselves by our banking partners. So our banking partners make sure that we are up to date with that kind of stuff. And then furthermore, they'll just make sure that marketing and mostly marketing and claims and financial advice is all done in a proper manner, which we don't give any financial advice. Marketing, we do make sure to only make claims of what's possible and not false claims.
And what about a custodian? Because that is another issue, that because cryptos were made to be anonymous, it means that whoever has got the key to the wallet effectively controls the crypto. So how do you get around that it's only the real owner of the crypto that has the wallet key, and that yourselves or other exchanges don't have that key, or if they need access to that key, that it's kept by a custodian and not some individual that can walk away with the key?
Yeah, sure. So one trend in the crypto space that is moving towards that is this trend of decentralized exchanges. So decentralized exchange is an on-chain exchange, which means it's not run by anyone. It's a software product that's being developed and released onto the blockchain, usually on Ethereum, where you can go with your coins, you custody them yourself, you swap them, and you immediately receive the other coin you swapped it for back into your wallet, where you are the custodian yourself all the time, instead of having to trust a third-party exchange or centralized exchange, as they're generally called. The problem with those is they're quite slow and expensive, but they definitely are where the industry is moving, and we're actually exploring launching a decentralized exchange that has FICA and KYC built in, which is something that doesn't exist at the moment. All decentralized exchanges allow you to come and be anonymous when you trade, but we're looking at actually developing one that will have FICA built in, which could be quite interesting.
John Ovadia is the CEO of Ovex, and well, it's not really a storm in a teacup, but we'll wait for tomorrow and we'll see the retraction from the authorities.
Exactly.
I haven't seen that happening ever before, so this could be quite a biggie
especially
for
coming from a regulatory body such as the FSCA. Normally they come out with these kind of things once they've done their due diligence, they've done their homework, and it's almost
they really dropped the ball.
So it's good to hear from John that the Ovex boys aren't crossing the line.
Well, we are going to find out now a little bit more another successful business, because clearly John's business is making good profits in an area where there's massive ignorance. Neal Froneman went into an area where there's anything but ignorance. It's hugely researched what's going on in the mining industry. He made a massive bet in the United States, buying Stillwater for what was at that stage primarily a gold operation. He also bought some platinum assets for what is now Sibanye Stillwater, and it's been on a roll. Today we got the first quarter results. But Neal, before we talk to you, we want you to listen to Jamie Dimon. And I'm sure you've paid people like Jamie Dimon lots of money, the chief executive of one of the major American banks, when you've done your various transactions. And this is what he had to say about the world post-COVID. It's from our partners at the Wall Street Journal.
You've been in the office since June. You have strong feelings about having other people in the office.
Yeah.
What's your expectation at JP Morgan as we reopen?
I'm shocked. First of all, the press is at home. So one of the obsessions is the press is at home talking on Zoom. It's like, but the American public knows 100 million people go to work every day. 65,000 people go to our branches every day. Firemen, police, sanitation, hospitals, retail, pharmacies, banks, groceries. It's 40 million of them go to work. And yeah, kind of they like it at home and stuff like that. It doesn't work really well. So my view is there will be more hybrid work. So accelerate that. Remember, a lot of reporters can work at home and they're writing something. Then you go to the newsroom to get ideas and share stuff. Same for our bankers and private bankers, and investment bankers, and same for our salespeople. So they're on the road some of the time. There'll just be more of it. You can do more work from your vacation home. You can do more work from, that's fine. It's just not going to change everything so dramatically. It accelerated a trend, but it does not work for younger people. It doesn't work for those who want to hustle. It doesn't work in terms of spontaneous idea generation. So
how does it work for your culture in terms of
it doesn't work for culture. Yeah. So I think, we've told people we expect them on May 17th, 1 or 2 days a week. Get used to it. Get your head wrapped around it. Get your head wrapped around the fact that we may, if we can, the legal issues about requiring vaccines, but by mid-July, 50% will be back in. Obviously, according to the laws, if you have religious or other reasons, we're not going to make you, but we want people back at work. And my view is sometime September, October, it'll look just like it did before. So I just don't think the world's going to be that dramatically different.
And you personally have had it with Zoom, right?
Yeah, I'm about to cancel all my Zoom meetings. I just think I'm done with it, and I'm going to Boston today. I went to California for 3 days. This is 6 months ago, and I met with 100 or 150 people, all outside, all safe. I met with a women's group, venture capitalists, private equity, investors, CEOs, tech people. You get to see. I got to see my bankers in action. Over a glass of wine, the clients tell me the truth about why we did get a piece of business or why we didn't. A lot of the tech people are telling me that we should be using more of this in our data centers and more of that. So after 2.5 days, you're brimming with ideas and thoughts, and you don't get that from the Zoom world.
Yeah.
So Jamie Dimon says that JP Morgan is bringing all their staff back into the office, Neal Froneman. You can't mine without people, so presumably your staff have mostly been on the mines. But what about you? What about what he had to say there of doing deals? You are the ultimate deal maker here in South Africa at the moment. Have you been doing deals by Zoom?
Alec, absolutely. We have two models, and both of them are predicated on ensuring people are safe and healthy. Operationally, you can't do it via a Zoom. You have to be at the rock face. Your supervisors have to be present, and there's got to be leadership. That's where we have very stringent protocols, and we've shown that the COVID rates in our underground mines is 1/3 of that in the community. So our protocols around social distancing, sanitizing, and all those sort of things actually work. But where I disagree with Jamie is I don't believe there's a post-COVID environment. And those jobs that can be done in a corporate environment, I think can be actually done better. Now, there are the aspects of culture and interfacing with people, but if that's your drive, then you can arrange very focused sessions to achieve those things. You can meet in a coffee shop if you want, if you need social stimulation and so on. You don't have to open a whole office and lose the effects and the efficiencies of this new working environment. So we've introduced a concept called SOHO, which is small office, home office. It's allowed us to have people around the world working for us. We are more productive, but we are sensitive to those issues that he raises. And we can get a lot of M&A type stuff done. You still need site visits. You still need to do due diligence type work that's not just in the data room. So it is more difficult, and travel is obviously a big problem or constraint at the moment in terms of getting DD done in foreign countries.
Let's just go back to that deal, which has created to a large degree, or those deals that have created the spectacular set of financial results that you released today. First of all, going into platinum here in South Africa, and secondly, doing the Stillwater deal. Did you have a crystal ball, or did you guys sit around a table and say, we think PGMs, platinum group metals, are the future. Let's go in there as big as we can and take a huge bet? Because had it gone the other way, you would be, what was a gold miner, would now be struggling. But of course, it's a full credit to you because you got it right.
Yeah. No, look, we did it in a very thoughtful way, and it started from us understanding our core competency, which was really about running medium to deep labor-intensive mines in South Africa. We know how to prosper in this environment. The gold industry in South Africa is ex-growth, so that wasn't a place where we could grow. PGM mining is similar, but the market is completely different. We brought in a number of experts to make sure we understood the supply and demand characteristics of these metals, and we developed a fundamentally robust view of the future of PGMs. And what you don't know is, are the prices going to continue to go down in the short term? When is the best time to make that move? But we developed a strategy which involved some geographical diversification because of the issues we face in South Africa, and we moved very quickly. We were running 2 transactions at a time, and one of those, Lonmin, we actually stepped back to do Stillwater because our view was there was no other buyer for Lonmin, not a serious buyer anyway, and it was going to get cheaper. But we had a supportive board, we had a well-informed strategy, and we understood the commodity, those particular commodities very well, and we moved very quickly to secure our position. And in a way, we did bet the farm. And what nearly tripped us up were unforeseen events such as the safety incidents we had in 2018. We had a plan to deleverage. We could deleverage at current commodity prices, but an unexpected event like that is what you really have to plan for, and we weren't well prepared for that. We dealt with it and came through it, thank goodness, but it was tough.
Neal, Q1 unbelievable. Q2 is looking even better where the PGM basket is now. The last time we spoke, you said you were focused on increasing your multiple. The price has stayed the same. The earnings have increased, i.e. the multiples decreased. What's happening? What's the market looking at?
And just disclosure, he's just bought some shares today. So
I bought on the weakness.
He's a Sibanye shareholder. So you're talking to the shareholder here.
Yeah. We are battling to get the earnings potential of the group well understood. So we're constantly behind the curve. Our share price has stagnated a bit in the last few weeks, but we've generally outperformed our peers, but we've all sort of stagnated. I think there's a little bit of investor concern. Is this the top of the market? Personally, I don't believe it, because the fundamentals looking forward are more robust for these metals. So we are not able to catch up with our earnings, if that makes sense. Our share price is not increasing fast enough with the earnings that we are producing, and the market actually wants to see those earnings before they actually give you credit for it, especially when you've come out of a difficult time like we have, highly leveraged, and COVID disruptions and so on. But what you're seeing is the earnings potential very clearly in Q1, 20 billion EBITDA, just under 20 billion. Commodity prices have increased. I can only compliment you on making the move when you have.
Yeah, I had to buy on the weakness, Neal. I mean, I saw those numbers, and at a stage it was 2% down. I just couldn't believe my luck. So yeah, but Jean-Pierre, what are your thoughts? I know you're not necessarily a commodity bull, and I generally take your opinions very seriously, but I have changed my stance on commodities as a whole. Do you have any questions for Neal?
Yes, well, firstly, I also own Sibanye Stillwater in the funds under my management, so also bullish on the share. And then Neal, as you mentioned, you're generating 20 billion of EBITDA, or it might even increase. You've indicated you wouldn't mind if we get to a South African gold champion. That could be some use of that funds if Sibanye is part of that consolidation. But what else can you see doing with your cash windfall? We know you bought Keliber, which was a small acquisition in Finland, and gaining exposure to lithium. But what's the next chapter, do you think, for Sibanye Stillwater?
Yeah, so Jean, we're very focused on capital allocation. So first of all, the commitments to allocate the very substantial amounts of money we're making according to the structure that we shared at year end, which is essentially some organic growth projects. That commitment is there. Building up a bit of reserves in case we have further lockdowns and offsetting some of the long-term debt we got. That's happening as we speak. Dividends are predictable, committed to, and accounted for. Post that, it really becomes actually buying back some of your debt. And we don't want to be completely ungeared, so we're not going to buy back all our debt. And then, of course, share buybacks play a role. You know, if we weren't in a closed period, we could have well been buying back shares today, but we're not quite ready, and we're in a closed period. And then, of course, then it's M&A and external growth. And some of just like we entered the PGM business, we took 2 years to do the work I described. We took 2 years to do the battery metals work we've just done, and Keliber is the first step. And there will be some more steps, but that's all got to be value accretive. Difficult to always find value accretive acquisitions. Gold is important to us because it's become such a small part of our portfolio that we are still looking for the right type of assets and opportunities. But you know, that's on the tail end, and I know everybody thinks we deal crazy, but I can tell you we've turned down many more deals than we've actually done because we can't find the value proposition, or there's a problem, you know.
And Neal, just to close off with, it's almost like a Sibanye Mark II here in South Africa at the moment, where Anglo is halving off its coal assets. Very similar to what Goldfields did with you. You were no longer favored within the future of Goldfields. They put together a package of South African gold assets, very long, long in the tooth. You picked that up and you've made a magnificent, you've turned that to account with magnificent value accretion for shareholders there. When you look at what Anglo is doing with its coal assets, where its shareholders don't want the assets anymore, the South African coal assets, are we seeing a replay there? And I'm trying to get some idea or somewhere where we can go and do some homework and perhaps get in early.
Yeah, look, I must say, I wish I was half the age I am at the moment. There's so many opportunities out there. And the only problem, listen, I think when things become non-core, there are wonderful opportunities for the right management teams, because generally these assets are not, they're not focused on, and therefore don't receive as much of the management attention that they should have. So the new managers really take these assets and do things with them that were not possible in the original company, or they just have a whole lot more dedicated focus. Now, The only difference between what Anglo's doing and what happened to Goldfields doing it, creating a Sibanye, is you've got a problem with coal. You've got a challenge with carbon issues. Now, that's not all bad, because a coal company, I think, has a very substantial cash generation base and can reinvent itself in so many ways. There's a lot of opportunity in the energy markets, and certainly I think it would be a wonderful opportunity if I was running a coal company.
Neal Froneman, the chief executive of Sibanye Stillwater, after some spectacular first quarter results that came out today, and a new shareholder. Justin, I'm proud of you. I really am, that you can see these opportunities and actually that you put your money where your mouth is.
Eagle eyes, and happy shareholders, Jean-Pierre, after hearing that.
Yes, seems like we're all long Sibanye Stillwater.
Beautiful.
Well, our final guest for tonight is Kevin Wakeford. He's a gent who's well known in the South African business community, not in the current guise, which is making a presentation to the Zondo Commission. Kevin is the former chairman of Neal. He was involved with Bosasa, which has become a bit of a swear word in South Africa, and he was named by Angelo Agrizi, the ostensible whistleblower on Bosasa, at the original Zondo Commission. Today, Kevin, you had the opportunity to explain why what Mr. Agrizi was saying about you wasn't accurate. Do you think that your story was believed?
I think so, Alec. I have no doubt. Firstly, let me just make a correction. I applied to cross-question Agrizi 2 years ago. In fact, longer than 2 years. 2 years and 4 months ago. I've finally been given my opportunity, but before you can cross-question, you've got to give testimony. You've got to give your version of events. That's what I did today, very happily, and it's very, very simple. The issue of sorry, one's trying to phone me, and it's a bit of a problem.
You're very popular today, Kevin, so we'll forgive you for that little beep beep.
Alec, there were two basic allegations, primary allegations. The one was that I influenced George Papadakis of SARS from a perspective of arranging free cement for him as reimbursement for assisting with a major tax investigation during the year 2009. There was no investigation during 2009, and so there's no quid pro quo or no link to anything of that nature. And according to Papadakis' affidavit that we got sight of yesterday and read out portions of it today, he paid for his cement in any event. So,
just to stop you there and to support that, I have known George for many years. He is a forensic auditor. He's the guy who puts the bad guys into jail, and yet he's now supposedly being corrupt. Well, but Agrizi says you paid him and he got it wrong. Yeah, clearly. Okay.
Yeah, he got that wrong. There's no quid pro quo, no evidence whatsoever of a major investigation in 2009. The first major investigation, in fact, was much later than that and started in 2011. And the other allegation was that I arranged as advisor to the minister on the turnaround project at Home Affairs that I'd arranged an extension to the Landela contract through a certain Anil Radhakrishna, who was a public sector finance expert and who was contracted to Fever Tree. We proved today beyond any doubt that there was no extension to anything. And in fact, the addendums that brought about major cost savings for the department as a result of the turnaround merely allowed Home Affairs the discretion, should they so wish, to extend it in 2015, long after we'd left. However, that did not happen in any event, but it was solely at the discretion of Home Affairs. So the gentleman did not have his facts straight, and he made wild allegations which caused unbelievable pain for all concerned, myself and Neal Radhakrishna, as well as George Papadakis, and I'm sure many other people. And I think he misrepresented the facts in most occasions in relation to Bosasa. I can't speak about everything because they were just one of my many clients. But the bottom line is today I felt went very well. We put the facts on the table. I think I was one of the few people who had kept sufficient evidence to disprove every single thing he said.
What did it cost you? You said earlier that it's taken 2 years. How much of your own effort and financial effort has this been? Because anybody can stand up and make allegations, but to be able to disprove them, you need to bring lawyers and pretty expensive resources to bear.
Yeah, lawyers and forensic accountants and advocates. And that's what I had to do. I had to use up considerable funds, ranging from my Arms Corps pension fund that I was paid out on to other pension and provident funds that I'd retained over the years. All of that has evaporated, but that's fine, Alec. That's life. You've got to take the hard knocks from time to time. I think you will know that I'm used to that. And I develop lockjaw on an issue, and I won't give up until I know the truth has been told, and that's what happened today. And I'm feeling relieved, and I look forward to the cross-questioning session of Angela Grizzi and Franz Forster.
Just to close off with Kevin, why did Grizzi do this? Why did he make these allegations about you, which clearly he could not prove because of, as you've just said now, the evidence says they're not true?
Yeah. Alec, he made them about me as a result of me challenging him, from day one. I questioned his integrity. I questioned his attitude on race relations. I questioned his attitude on getting non-racialism to work as well as an inclusive economy in this country, because that's the only way we're going to get a market system to work where all stakeholders benefit from the system.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day...
What I'm getting at, Kevin, is that he went to a commission of inquiry. He was our great whistleblower. He was our great exposer of mistruths or untruths at Bosasa. If he was making these false allegations against you, what was his motive? Or was he making false allegations against others as well?
Willie, I think he was making a broad swipe of allegations, most of which were lies. I think the intent there was, you must remember there's a whole body of evidence at BizNews called the Bosasa Files, and I quote them extensively. So thank you very much, Alec. Because you brought all of that into the public domain, and that assisted us greatly in proving that he never had a Damascene experience in 2016 with his heart tumor. In fact, right through from 2016 through to 2018, he was trying to take over the company. I presented the evidence in that regard. He had his fifth column, which was approximately 5 people, maybe more, at Bosasa that he took across to Criaris, a new company, and he used those people to sign. He scripted the affidavits for him, and they merely signed them in 2017 already. And then when criminal charges were filed against, he then went to the commission. After his 2016 Damascene experience, he only did that, late in 2018. And there's plenty of evidence pointing to a potential takeover of the company, trying to take it over, then trying to become the CEO again. And to be quite frank with you, most of his evidence and so-called whistleblowing, and of course, I don't believe he was ever a whistleblower, and no one else who joined him to give evidence. They were really trying to recraft the truth and recreate history by giving evidence at the Zondo Commission.
Kevin,
So
Kevin Wakeford, thank you. We could go on this one, Justin, for the whole day, but Kevin is our he's our thought leader for today, and this thought leadership feature was made just for you by BrightRock, the first ever needs matched life insurance. It changes as your life changes. At BrightRock, we believe that change can unlock amazing opportunities. We've partnered with industry leaders to provide you with tips and tools to help you navigate life's big change moments. Welcome to this week's Thought Leadership feature, which featured Kevin Wakeford, who today presented evidence to the Zondo Commission. Well, before we leave, let's find out on the markets.
The JSE All Share Index was up at 67,600. Some of the day's highlights included Sibanye up 1.2% to 67 Rand a share as the company announced an upbeat Q1 trading statement. AB InBev up 4.5% to 1,050 Rand a share as the company announced a better than expected Q1 performance and a change in chief executive. Distel up 4.5% to 132 Rand as people start loading up for the weekend ahead, and Sappi down 4.5% to 48 Rand a share. In the currency markets, the Rand strengthened against all the major currencies to 14 Rand 23 to the dollar, 19 Rand 76 to the pound, and 17 Rand 16 to the euro. Gold is up at $1,814 an ounce. Brent crude is trading at $69 a barrel, and the premier cryptocurrency will put you back 810,000 Rand a Bitcoin.
And this market report was made just for you by BrightRock, the first ever needs matched life insurance that changes as your life changes. Jean-Pierre, it's been lovely having you as our guest co-host tonight. You didn't really get a chance to comment much on what Kevin Wakeford had to say, excepting, I suppose, all is not ever what it seems.
Yes, and the truth will set us all free, Alex. So that's the one thing the Zondo Commission is showing. We need to dig deep for it, but hopefully the truth comes out and we can have this cathartic, positive and true cathartic experience. For the last hour, both to you, Alec, and to Justin.
It's been a pleasure, and your contribution, as always, was, what does Barney say? Awesome.
Awesome. We love to pick the brains of Jean-Pierre.
Indeed we do, and we will continue to do that in future. Thank you, Jean-Pierre. And thank you for being with us wherever you might be picking up this program in the world, on FMR in Cape Town, on the live stream via biznewsradio.com, or on our video camera, in-studio video camera on YouTube. Remember, all BizNews Power Hour shows are recorded and available on the major channels, including on biznews.com, biznewsradio.com, that you can pick it up from. Until tomorrow with Festive Friday. You're talking about Distel loading up for the weekend, giving away all your secrets here.
If it's up 4.5 on Thursday, it's going to at least be in double digits tomorrow.
We'll be back again 5:30 tomorrow. Until then, cheerio. You've been listening to the Power Hour, brought to you by the team at BizNews. Jean-Pierre, thank you very much. That was really terrific, and I mean, it was great that we had a heavy hitter for you tonight in Neal Froneman. Sure.
Yes. No, thanks. It was fun. First time co-hosting, so thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, and we'll get you back again soon. But next time, I suppose we'll try and get outside of the, more in your sweet spot than in the.
Jean-Pierre, I didn't realize you invested in commodities. I thought you stayed away.
I mostly stay away, but when there's a commodity boom, even a perennial commodity bear can become a bull.
I see.
And do you think it's a super cycle again that some people are saying, the kind of 2008 super cycle?
It looks that way. I mean, the PGM price has gone parabolic. Lumber prices have gone parabolic. Copper, iron ore, it's almost only gold that hasn't, which is lagging. But I mean, it has to do with all this money we're creating, but long-term interest rates staying low. In theory, somewhere prices must go up, and you're seeing that across all commodities.
Just one more question, Jean-Pierre, I have to. Are you holding any gold as a result of inflation risks or not?
Yes, so earlier this year we bought some gold mines, so not new gold, not the actual gold, the mines, because you get that if you are positive about the gold price, you get that
the leverage,
the leverage in a mine. But yes, after not holding gold mines for the last, I would say, well, ever. I've never really held.
Last question, names.
All of them. So I bought Goldfields, Anglo Gold, Harmony, all in January.
Okay, cool.
And crypto, do you see that as a hedge as well against inflation or against all this money creation?
Alec, I analyze businesses. So a gold mine, even though the revenue is dependent on the gold price, I can model revenue, costs, profit, and I can work out what's a fair multiple to put on the profit. A cryptocurrency, I can't do that. So I think it's still way too early. There's still some issues to sort out. I sort of alluded to the custody issue, which for me is big, which means that if whoever holds the key holds the crypto, and that's what happened with that Mirror Trading International. People gave over their keys, and then the guy just walked away with $1.5 billion, 1.5 billion rands of crypto. So they first need to sort out the ecosystem.
Brilliant. Jean-Pierre, thanks, man. Lovely seeing you, and
Thanks,
have a good weekend. I know it's a day early, but why not? We'll catch up soon. Thanks, eh?
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye then. Bye. Right.
That was fun.
That was a lot of fun. Well done. Good show you put together there.
Oh, one more day this week.
Shama, you're feeling a little
It's just
stretched.
that I'm studying, and it wouldn't be a problem if I wasn't studying. Like it's just, and then in the evenings you get stressed, and I can't sleep if I'm stressed. So I'll just continue to study to stop feeling stressed.
Yeah.
Then you go to bed at ugly hours. You wait. It's just.
So Charles wasn't joking when he said get some sleep.
But I just can't wait for this exam to be over. Then I'll be firing all cylinders.